Hey, what's up? It's Ward Wrestling. I got an awesome show for you today. I got my man Joe Rao, 33-year-old from Chicago, Illinois. Uh, Finally made the U.S. team. He was able to take out Alan Vera this year at 97 kilograms. But he's a three-time senior world team member, three-time gold medalist at Pan Am's. He medaled at Grand Prix. He's medaled everywhere he's been, and he took home a D3 title and a bunch of other stuff. He's been one match away on the last two cycles, and here we are. He's in. So, Joe, thanks so much for jumping on with me.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Man, it was really cool to get to see everything, the emotion. I think my most memorable moment was the stairs that were in front of your mom. She's sitting on one side of the stairs, and I'm sitting on the other. And when you won the second match, so the first match you won, you came over, you gave high five. It was obviously a little emotional there, and then and she won't deny this. She said she sat down, she's crying, and she said, "His fucking dream came true. I can't believe it." And she's crying, and I was like, "Wow!" My whole body went numb now saying it. And she's sitting there, and she's like, "He fucking did it," like just like that. And I was like, "Wow, this is pretty cool." And then obviously you got done, and you ran over to one of your coaches first, I think, and you hugged him down when you came down the steps, and then you came down the hallway, and then this moment over my shoulder happened, and I'm glad I was able to get that for you. But man, that moment, uh, finally getting the whistle blows, and you finally have done it. I read about some controversy in your final match last cycle, but shit happens, right? You're here, you're back.
Yeah.
That whistle blows, and man, what went through your mind?
Yeah, and I want to first off thank you for the pictures because you just gave us the best Mother's Day gift ever. My wife already printed that picture out and we're framing it for her. So yeah. Just a little like, you know, there's a lot to say about it. But one thing was that, I started wrestling at 6 and just extremely ambitious, like ambition up here, success like down here, So like it's a really hard place to be, and I think it's really hard place to be as a parent, is that like I had such big goals from like day one, and it year after year was not coming true, and you would think with the lack of success, the goals would get smaller, but the goals just got bigger. It didn't become a state champ. I wanted to be a national champ. National champ. I want to be an Olympic champ. So it's just like it. I think it was really hard on my mom. She was the one that was with me for like pretty much my whole journey. Where my dad, he was in the military, so he was doing combat tours all the time. And when he wasn't doing combat tours, he was doing other kind of training internationally and helping out other, even in peacetime, he would go to other countries and do all kinds of stuff that I don't really know everything he was doing. He was a Green Beret, but
Oh
so
wow.
my mom was really kind of the everything from the start. And my dad would come when he could, but she really was there for all of it. And I would say most of the time it was so devastating. And this isn't like trials 2021. This is like 8-year-old me, not having the tournament I want. I'd be so devastated, like crying in the back seat and um just completely distraught, to where my mom would like say all the time, like, we're not wrestling next year, we're not doing it next year, like, and I cry more and be like, no, I can't, I need to keep going, like I want, and so I think it was really hard on her. And because of that, and because of how hard I worked, and she saw it all, and how much I sacrificed, and she saw it all, and I think I sacrificed like very unreasonable things on my own, not because I had a wrestling dad, just like completely on my own. I was just a little, wrestling nut, and I was doing everything. I learned about something somebody high level's doing. I'm doing it now. And she saw that. I wouldn't eat cake at birthdays. I wouldn't be running. I'd be doing things that like normal kids weren't doing, and she was a swimmer, and she talked to me before about taking second in the city and how heartbreaking it was because she was a really good swimmer, but I think she had a lot of performance anxiety and she had a lot of pressure on her from her family. So she didn't really put any pressure on me, but I think deep down she's very, very competitive, and she also just she doesn't like to see me lose because she knows like what that's gonna mean for me. Like I'm gonna be so devastated. But
Oh,
that's kind of what kept the logs in the fire was every year not getting what I want, and I think that intensified, and I worked harder and I learned, and I think struggling and failing is it's such a powerful thing if you can endure it. So like that's just a little backstory, and
incredible.
like with the Olympics was a whole other thing, and they were there, you know, front and center for what happened last time, and that was really hard for everybody. And I quit, and I was angry, and I mean, quit. I retired. I was wrestling forever, but I retired, and I was angry, and I said I'd never do it again. So
And here you are.
yeah,
Yeah, and,
yeah,
and it was great. I even looked. I remember when your mom was sitting there, just I don't even know if she can remember she was saying it. She was probably so in her moment, right? And I looked at Tony Rotundo, and I was like, I think that's the greatest moment I've seen this weekend, right? And he's like, tell me about it, right? Like you could see his lip fluttering, like you could just see the pure. Obviously, all the parents whose kids were in the finals on the winning side of the losing side, we're all emotional and we're all happy and we're all sad and we're all devastated or not. But there was something about her; it was so genuine, and it just the words almost like I can't believe his dream finally came true, right? Like it was pretty powerful. It was fun to watch, and I was like, wow, I could go home now, right? Like that was a goal.
that's awesome.
But yeah, and then that was that. You came down and did your thing. You went and did your pictures, and now you're a team member, and you did the whole thing. But man, I appreciate you sharing that story there about you kind of growing up because we were talking about my son before we came on, and man, if he's not identical to what you're telling me you are, I mean, he's so hard on himself. I can remember him going through the same thing and us being like, okay, well, then just quit wrestling. We don't want to hear, I don't want to go
Yeah,
through it anymore. Stop crying. I don't want to deal with it. Right. And he'd go and the next day he'd be up and no, 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 I got to get back to it. I got to get back to it. I got to get back to it. Right. And he would just little by little, he would never give up and he would just keep trying. And I mean, I remember him going 0-2 in 10th grade. So here in Florida, you got to go districts, top four qualify for regionals, and then top four qualify for states, right? And we
Mhm.
have 1A, 2A, 3A. So you've got the smaller schools, the mid-sized schools, the large schools. And he went 0-2 at districts after working so hard. He thought, oh my God, I put all this work in. Definitely, I'm going to do something here, and completely failed. 0-2, and he was like, I'm going to have it. He went 12 months from that point. He went 0-2 to winning districts, winning regionals, and state placing the next year, right? And he just put all the work in.
That's
So
awesome.
hearing you go through that, and then of course the failures, right? The next year, his goal is to get a shot at the state title and do his thing. And hearing you say that, just it was always one thing. It's been always one thing after another for him, but it's always driven him to keep going, right? Like we're having a great year, we're having a great senior year. Boom, his knee goes, and then
Yeah,
he gets an illness that just sucked all the energy out of him going into he couldn't even cut weight to get to his weight class, so he had to go up. He catches the state champion in the first round and he's pinned in 2 minutes, right? And it
yeah,
was just he's ready to quit and give it all up. And we had to kind of so I hear when you're telling the story about you, I'm like, okay, well, there's 33-year-old Daniel, right? Hopefully,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Moving. It's
It,
just what a tough sport.
it's really tough, and like when you mention like anything could happen too, like stars can align for you, or the stars, it can be a storm, you can get hit by an asteroid, it's injuries, draws, calls,
Yeah,
life outside of the mat, you can get sick.
everything, man.
There can be terrible, like I honestly, like, we're so fragile, and I think we look at certain athletes as like indestructible, but there's nobody that is immune to like really unfortunate things happen, and also just having bad performances straight out too. And it's like you can't be the man every single time. I think the closest example we have of that is like maybe Carellen or Kale Sanderson, but Kale lost a match internationally. But like I'm sure his road still wasn't like completely easy, even if maybe it was off the mat. But like yeah, we can't insulate ourselves no matter how good we are, how hard we work from bad things. And then if you're a person like me, you're not somebody who's you know, just an all out just freak out of the gates. Um, you know, it's I think it's you feel it a lot more. If I was like
Yeah.
a blue chipper as a kid, and I always was that way, which like a lot of people on this level, that's how they were. It's like I was a state champ, number one ranked wrestler in the nation as a kid, and in high school and in college, and now I'm wrestling a senior level. Some people, that's
Yeah.
a lot of people's story. Like I rubbed shoulders with a lot of guys like that, and that was not my story at all. But I think there's a lot of power that comes from that, for me. And I learned a lot of stuff from that I think I wouldn't have learned if I was successful, like at a younger age.
Well, yeah. I mean, I tell people asked me when I came home, man, what was the Olympic trials like? Like that was cool, right? And I'm like, oh my God, it was great. From your, but that tournament was insane. I told people, I said, so right out of the gates, it was like uh, wrestler one against wrestler two on mat one. Wrestler one is a four-time Fargo champ, three-time world champ, two-time All American, five-time state champ. Wrestler two is all the same crap I just mentioned. And those
Yeah,
wrestlers went like 1-2 in the tournament or 0-2 in the tournament. And
crazy.
I'm like, well, damn, right? So you see that you're a Greco guy, obviously. Going through being on the college level, you had to do freestyle. Being in high school, you were doing folk style during the seasons, obviously, and maybe off season, you were always doing something else. What finally made you say, you know what, my focus now will be Greco? Did you always like it coming up as a kid? Was it something you always fell in love with? Or was it something you just said, I want to wrestle for a long time and maybe this is a better way to do it? Or I don't know. How does that work?
For me, I was interested in it, and I noticed like in folk style wrestling, I did a lot of upper body moves. So it wasn't like these days, it wasn't super long ago, but I still was on the tail end of like you went to the library. Like you didn't have just like everything on your phone. You didn't like know where all the tournaments were. You didn't know how to even get on the world team. You didn't know how to get to Fargo. Like everything was a huge research project for me. Um, I found out about Greco. I liked upper body moves, and my first introduction to Greco was renting a book from the library. I own it now. It's just called like Greco Roman Wrestling, by Martel, and like like that was my first introduction, and it was probably years after I saw that book and read through it to where I actually got to a Greco club where I found out where people actually wrestle this, and I had a lot of coaches not like that I was interested in Greco, and that's just probably the worst thing to do to somebody like me is tell them not to do something. We'll do it for 2 decades out of spite. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
so
I showed you,
yeah. But
right?
I got really lucky being from Illinois, and being from Illinois at the time I was, because you know before I found a club, I started seeing videos posted by Coach Medlin. He was making these highlight videos of the Team Illinois Greco dual team, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. He put some 80s music to it, and showing like guys like Max Nowry and Ellis Coleman like tossing people. And I'm like, man, how do I get on that team? Like, how do I get these tournaments like Fargo and national duels? And then around that same time, um, I really became close with Coach Powell at Oak Park River Forest High School, and he made a lot of Greco careers in the Chicagoland area. And like, I wasn't even a wrestler for his high school. I just started showing up at his high school, club practices, and then once I found out about him and Greco and all the talent they had coming through there, I was what they call an adopted Husky. Like, people just think I went to Oak Park, but really I just was just sleeping there basically,
And
But
I think Ellis Coleman might have mentioned the same name. Isn't he
mhm.
from that same area doing
Ellis
Greco?
Coleman was one of his wrestlers at Oak Park River Forest High
Yeah,
School, and so was
that's
Kamal
why
Day.
I
So three of
yeah.
us on the
So
team, we
and
all
all
started
three of you
Greco.
and all three of you are pretty bad now. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh
So I got really lucky with where I lived, and I get jealous sometimes. Like, sometimes I hear guys, especially some of my friends from Minnesota, they're like, how'd you get into Greco? He's like, well, my first coach ever was a world champion. I'm like, what? Like, I really had
yeah,
to,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
it took me
You had to go
years
search
to,
him.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Uh, but yeah, it
it's
wasn't
tough because
quite,
we're trying to get kids to like Greco, right? We're
yeah.
I hear all the state teams. I'm in Florida, so I hear Florida's doing it, but they're all trying to push these kids to do Greco just to do it. And it's so hard to get kids. They're worried that they're going to get thrown. Is what
There were
they.
some really good Florida guys though when I was in high school. And I'm assuming that a lot of those guys are going to become coaches, and I know some of them already that have wrestled at Northern Michigan and other places at a high level. So I think you just give it time, and like, from my point of view, I think that you can't force it on people. Introduce people, show that it adds value to all of your wrestling. Because I never was a Greco guy. I was a wrestler. People call me a Greco guy. I wrestle freestyle, I wrestle folk style, I wrestle Greco, and to this day, I wrestle freestyle, I wrestle folk style, I wrestle Greco, and the opportunities really just started to come in Greco. And once I won Fargo out of nowhere after my senior year of high school, that I got labeled as a Greco guy. But was I a little bit better at Greco than any other style? Like, maybe a little bit, but it also, I think what was happening was that the playing field was very leveled. The best folk style guys are still pretty good in freestyle, but the best folk style guys, they're trying Greco, pretty much at the same time I'm trying Greco. So it really kind of was cool for me, and it really kind of it was an avenue that made me realize that I could beat big names. Where I think if I would have just stuck to folk style, I would have really had like the best guys in the state and the country on a pedestal. And something about Greco, nobody's comfortable with it, and I'm beating guys, and people never heard of me, and I'm like, man, like, and then like carrying that over to my folk style and my freestyle, I'm like, yeah, it was all in my head, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I listen. I see it because we have there's top guys in our state, and I'll see them compete against each other. And in freestyle, guy A wins, and in Greco, guy B wins every single time, right? And you're watching them, and you're like, well, guy B's better at upper body, guy A's better at legs. Well, that's why guy A is winning freestyle all the time, and guy B is winning Greco. But yeah, and then I was never a wrestler, so I could completely be totally incorrect. But as a photographer, I get to see a lot of wrestling, right? I've
Mhm.
taken hundreds at this point, hundreds of thousands of pictures. Um, and the, the last 2 years I've been at Fargo, so obviously 10 days of wrestling, and it's a long time. I see a lot of it there. And I swear more people get thrown in freestyle than I see them get thrown in Greco.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I
so,
threw more people in freestyle than I did in Greco.
so everybody's saying that it's because you're going to get thrown, but you're getting thrown in freestyle. Like that's 4 points. That's 4 points, right?
One of the huge advantages of learning Greco is you learn how to prevent throws better by staying in good position, and like I had a lot of matches in high school and kids where I'm like beating somebody up and I got headlocked, and that really stopped happening. um I can't remember the last time that happened. That pretty much 100% stopped happening once I started wrestling Greco. And that's not me
Yeah,
throwing, that's just me like preventing throws, knowing where I'm susceptible to them. And, it's not like it's impossible for it to happen, but it pretty much eliminated that, where it used to be a problem for me. Like I'd give up big moves when I was, almost teching somebody.
it's all. Yeah, we had a young man here in our state, I guess probably 5 years ago now, and he had won the state title the year before, and he was coming in his senior year, and his dad coached a lot of Greco, and he was a Greco kid. Well, he's in you know how they put the back mat so you can practice before the state, so the guys are warming up, and a heavyweight rolls over his ankle. So
Oof, yeah.
pretty much breaks his ankle, for lack of better. Like it's pretty messed up. Well, he goes through and still wins the state tournament. He doesn't want to leave.
Oh, wow.
So, so I had interviewed him a year or two later and asked him, "How the hell did you do that?" Right? Like that's
Yeah.
crazy. And he said, "I grew up. My dad always had me doing Greco. So in my mind, I told myself, well, first of all, you don't want anybody coming to your leg because it's broken. And
Mm-hmm.
then I had to work upper body a lot. So that was his mindset going through. And he said, because of Greco, if he didn't have that, he wouldn't have been able to get himself through it. Is what he said to me. Look, I don't pretend to know wrestling like wrestlers, right? I just
No,
so I whether you want to whether it is or isn't true, he did it. So he got
I
the
believe
title.
it. There's
Yeah.
there's something there's something to it for sure. It's such a neglected uh area of focus, to the point where somebody could be the best guy in the country. Maybe if he's from America, he can be the best guy in the world, but he's from America, and if you get him in a upper body position, he's very uncomfortable and he doesn't know what he's doing. Because our like train of thought for the longest time was just completely avoid it. And I think that's changing now because we're way more like freestyle aware now. And we got guys like Dake, and we got guys that can throw. We realized that you need at least kind of be able to, um, in those positions and wrestle out of them or be comfortable there. And like, but for the longest time, and like when I was coming up, you know, I get I get yelled at a lot for going upper body, even if I won, even if it was a big move and I pinned somebody, they didn't like it. They wanted me to be on single legs, high crotches, and working front headlocks. That's it, like and that was never my style. So I had a lot of coaches not like me, or not like my style, or not like that I wrestle Greco, not like that I do junk moves, or like, and it's like
Junk moves.
if I pin a state champ with a move, like what's junk about it? But you see some Olympic champion from Russia hit it, and now like, 10, 15 years later, now people respect these techniques that, like, when I was in high school, I was getting yelled at for trying, or like even if I did it successfully, So it's like I've never been too good for a technique or a move. I've never been too good for something foreign, and I feel like the country finally is caught up to it. But I'm a little ticked off because I always got
Yeah.
scolded for these
You
things,
guys,
or
that's
you
funny.
know,
Oh,
or it's like, why are you working with
oh,
this Russian trucker guy? Why you got this Ukrainian here? It was like, because they have so much good stuff, but like back then, people, it was just foreign to them, and they're just stay on the legs, stick to high percentage moves, and like I do think that really helped my game to have both. to have the big moves and the crazy stuff, and also like kind of hone it in and get a little bit more working on and focusing on things that we consider like high percentage wrestling,
Yeah,
like,
that's
but
yeah, it's that's funny that like Ellis said the first like 4 times he hit that squirrel, they didn't give him points because they were like, "What the hell was that?" Like they didn't even know. He's like, they didn't even know. Should I score that? Should I not score that? I've never seen anything like it, right? And
you
then
ever seen Semi Pro, the movie?
no,
Oh, they like do it the alley oop for the first time, and the refs don't know what to do. They're like, foul, two fouls. Like they're just
yeah,
like
yeah. Oh,
dumbfounded.
I gotta watch it. Yeah, he was like, and then finally one tournament, I got points for it, and I was like, oh, all right, that's pretty funny. So you've been trying to get to the Olympics. You've been trying to get there. What's uh, what's like the first thing you're gonna do when you get to Paris, or what is something about the Olympics that you're gonna be like, man? Like I was talking to Blades, and she's like, man, I'm looking forward to like that parade or that opening ceremony where she's like, I'm not watching it on TV. I'm actually standing here, right? Like
Yeah,
those type of things. Like obviously the wrestling, she's gonna go wrestle because that's what you guys do. I mean, obviously, right? But but she's more looking forward to like getting to feel some of that experience.
absolutely. I mean, I'm gonna second that. I'm really excited to do the opening ceremonies, and I spent a lot of time in France. I've spent a lot of time in France recently. I spent a lot of time in France over the last 10 years, but like recently, and I'm seeing all the plans laid out and the signs, and the family of my friends are explaining like, oh, you make the team, you're gonna be on the boats going down the river, and I'm like, oh, so cool. Like, I
That's
hope I
so
get to do
cool.
that. So like I've been there, just months ago. I was spending, a lot of time there. And part of that was intentional. Part of that is like I have, really good friends out there that and their national team treats me so well. They basically let me come in and train, at the drop of a hat whenever I want, and I'm so grateful to them. They help me out a lot. And you know, my friend Jill, his family's helped me out a lot. Gave me a place to stay and feed me amazing French food every meal, just cooking and cooking and
Yeah.
cooking, just
And
just eating and
you're a big
wrestling. You gotta love it.
you're a big boy to feed too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a good job of it. But yeah, I'm excited for those opening ceremonies. And like I got a lot of people right now um really kind of taking interest, within my family, friend group, people that I don't know, and all of a sudden they're really
People that I don't know.
a
Take me
million
to the
people you
Olympics.
don't.
Take me to the Olympics. Yeah.
Yeah, a million people you don't know come out of the woodwork, and it happened in 16 too. And you think like um you'd be insulated from it by somebody, but it kind of is just it just happens all of a sudden. And it's not like it's not qualified people, but as far as I'm concerned, if you like weren't there to get me there, like, don't think you're gonna play like a huge role from like, the 80 days till the Olympics, which like I'm not gonna close out anybody, but I shouldn't have 10 new people in my ear, and that happens. It happened in 16, when I won Olympic trials. And I actually got really upset about it, and I got yelled at more for like raising those concerns. I was like, I just need one voice. I need the coach that I've been working with this whole quad. I don't need like 10 new people, but it just happens. And they mean well and they want to help. And like, but at the same time, like you could only focus on so much. But yeah, like there is a lot of attention for people that I either haven't heard from in years or I've never met before that want to help. And I'm bringing this up for a reason. Sorry, I go all over the place. I got ADD,
That's
but like,
cool. I do the
um,
same thing.
yeah, but like the reason why I'm bringing it up is I got kind of people that have never been in this situation, kind of putting a lot of pressure on me to go get that gold medal. And yeah, no duh. Like I don't need you to tell me, that this is the time to focus and work and blah. I'm like, I know this is what I've done my whole life. I know
Yeah.
that's no duh. That's the
Yeah.
but it's like,
Right. In 2016,
yeah,
maybe you needed some of that, right? Like, hey, don't forget you got to focus, or don't forget that. But that was what were you 20 back then, or
No, I was 25, but really,
25.
I didn't need it then either. I needed people to leave me alone and like believe in me. And like, the more other people freak out, it's like, oh, should I be worried? But like, am I doing something wrong? Like people will tell you to do something you're already doing, like you're doing something wrong. It's like I'm going for gold. And that's I think I'm gonna have a great tournament and I think I'm gonna be very successful there. And that's what I'm going there for. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is like I'm gonna enjoy the hell out of this experience, and I'm not gonna let anybody stop me. You know what I mean? It's like if people
Yeah.
don't want you smiling, it's like, well, what the hell are we doing this for? Like people don't want you
Well,
enjoying it.
also,
Like,
I mean, come on, like,
you know,
let's be honest. You're going to be, I, I don't know what happened in 16, but I know you're going to be an Olympian now. Whether you go there
yeah,
and do nothing, or you go there and win the gold medal, like for the rest of your life, you're going to be an Olympian. Like that in itself is incredible, right? Just to
yeah,
be able to what you had to go through just to become an Olympian. I mean, how yeah, I mean, so even I think that's what I don't know. I'm at a much smaller level right now. My son just
no,
got to the Pan Ams, and I just told him,
no,
well, you
it's
know what
awesome.
you know what you have to do to get prepared. All I ask you to do is do everything you can to be prepared. If you go there and go 0-2, but you put in the hard work, you just get a bad bracket, or maybe you're just not good enough yet. Maybe you still have levels to
Mm,
jump, but you put in all the work. Okay, I'm good with that, right? But I don't want
yeah,
you to not put the work in and then go there and then you're like, damn, shit, I should have worked for an extra week, right? So I don't,
yeah,
but but I also say enjoy the experience because everybody like yourself who's been to the Pan American Championships tells me, tell your son to just go have fun and enjoy the experience because this might be the only one he gets, or he may go to more, right?
and here's the other reason why I think it's important too, is the better time you're having, usually the better you perform. It's just like it's not common sense to anybody. It's just like, do you want to make me miserable for the tournament? And you want like, like
Yeah.
you want me to, but like I know what I'm doing. I like obviously I've been doing this for a long time. I'm gonna put the blinders on. I'm gonna put in the work, and I'm gonna do everything I can. But at the same time, if I'm smiling, having a good time, you know, I don't need to be yelled at for
Yeah.
that. It's like
That doesn't
the
mean I
more
don't care. That doesn't mean I don't care,
exactly.
right? That
And
doesn't
I've
mean I
had
don't
this
care.
problem my whole career. You know, I was always a goofball. When I was a kid, sometimes I was a troublemaker, but I really cared. And I think that a lot of like my antics um overshadow for a lot of coaches like what I'm really doing every day. Like, because like they only see you in the room, and like as a coach, when I coach, it's really hard to tell because kids could talk to you, they can sell you on them, like especially when you're recruiting kids, they can make you think they're the hardest worker, they want it more than anyone, and then they get there and they really don't, and they don't even want to work. Like people are really good at putting on a facade of like whatever you want to hear, whatever you want to, and I never like I would never was like the kid who was like, I gotta show you that I'm working hard. It's like, no, no, dude, I'm working hard. Why don't you trust me? Like, and the mat doesn't lie. Like, if I'm the most improved wrestler every year, which like I truly think I was on every team, I never was like the MVP probably until college. Maybe they gave it to me, but like I always was almost on every team, most improved, most improved, most improved. But I'm always getting called out for like whatever this and that because I'm a jokester, and it's like, dude, I take this
Oh,
so seriously. I'm so dedicated, so disciplined, but I need to cut the tension, with like
I
sugar
get
with
it because
coffee, like,
yes, I get it because I'm a
and it
goofball.
helps me perform.
I'm 47 now, and you know, I was in sales my whole life and did really well, but I'd always have fun and I'd always be joking, and people would get mad at you for it all the time. Like, hey, you got to take this serious. You got to. This is a job. This is a place of business. This is a place of this. And I'm like, well, my sales team is doing well. They're obviously having fun, so fuck it, right? But
Yeah,
yeah, people take it to and I think as a parent now, watching my son go through it, I get at fault. I could say I'm at fault sometimes of being the parent where you're like, are you really working? Are you sure you're working? You're
yeah,
working, right? And he's like, Dad, I mean, I don't. I don't want to lose, so I know I got to put in work. I'm like, all right, that's cool. But I think like you said about your mom, and I think that you said it perfectly because I think that's how my wife and I feel when our kids are putting effort into something and you can see it. As a parent, your anxiety grows for them when they're competing, but not because I don't care if he wins or loses, truthfully, right? I don't care. It doesn't affect me personally, but it affects him if he wins or
Yeah,
loses. And I know, and as parents, you know how it affects them because they're putting so much work in, so they want to see the work pay off. So that's where the anxiety comes from, and that's where the fear comes from, and that's where the sometimes you say shit you shouldn't say to your kids comes from, and
yeah,
and because we want to see them succeed based on what they put in, so we hurt for them. We don't hurt for us, if that makes sense, right? So,
absolutely. And I think like parenting is very difficult, and I think coaching is very difficult. And if you're somewhere in between those two, or if you're just a parent that like cares a lot, is trying to help them get the best, preparation and training and best performances, like if you're invested, I think that's very difficult to know what's the right thing to say at all times. And I think for me personally, I think my personality is different than other wrestlers. I think the more you yell at me and the more you try and be really rigid with me, the more I'm going to kind of pull away from you. I'm going to still be working just as hard, but I'm not going to trust you, which is not me getting to my best wrestler. Because if my coach doesn't trust me and I don't trust my coach, the wrestling isn't as good as if it was the other way around. You know what I mean? So
well,
like,
and meanwhile, you're around now that you're at the level you're at. I mean, right now you're at the Olympic Training Center. So when I
mm,
talk to people that have stayed there, they're like, "Damn, we have the best coaches around us. We have the best go partners around us. We can go get a massage if we want. We can go eat if we need it, and the food is what we need to eat, right?" So the people from the outside that are wondering what's going on, we're at the Olympic Training Center. They're not. Don't worry, we're getting what we need to get, right?
it's truly awesome, man. It's like all those things you're saying. Yeah, it's great. Food cooked, don't have to do dishes, don't have to cook the food. The food's healthy. It makes it easy. You don't got to think about anything other than training. You can go in, sports med, massages, facilities amazing, coach is great. Yeah, and I'm just talking more about coaching style. Like, I think I can be coached by anyone and I can figure it out. I just think that like I personally like my personality, I work best when people give me a really loose rope and trust me that I'm working hard, let me be silly, let me do my thing. Like the more you just leave me to my own devices, I think the better it's going to go, which like most coaches can't do. And like I got a really, really good college coach that embraced who I was as a person and who embraced who I was as a wrestler. And Coach Powell also, was a very positive guy. And I think for me, like you can be a lot of different types of coaches, but if you're negative with me, it doesn't lead to my best wrestling because I'm already so negative up here. Like whatever I put off, like I'm a really goofy guy and I joke a lot, but that actually probably stems from a really, really kind of pessimistic look at the world and at wrestling and my career. And like I'm naturally really kind of got to constantly work on the mind because I'm not a positive person. And like, and if I do anything wrong, trust me, you don't got to tell me. I know, and I'm so pissed at myself. I won't forgive myself for years sometimes. I remember one of my college seasons, one of my best friends on the team's like, God, I hope you win this year. Because I want to win nationals. Because like I just want to have fun with you after the season, you know. And I took
Oh,
third.
I 100%. I get it. Like
I punished
we,
myself. I punished
yeah.
myself. And if you're punishing me or five people are punishing me, I'm not going to be at my best because I'm in a hole now.
Oh, I know. Like I told you, my son's been away for a year at school, so we came home and we were going to Puerto Rico, but we made it a trip. So we said, okay, we'll go in. we'll just go in on weight cut day. So we only have to deal with you for one day of weight cut. And then, because, we don't want to deal with
Yeah.
him any longer than that. And then you'll wrestle Saturday, but we're going to stay till Tuesday. So the whole time, I'm like, man, I hope he does good because I don't want to have a shitty Monday and Tuesday. I really want to have a
Yeah.
fun Sunday when I do. I'm like, I don't know, shitty rest of the week. I really want to. I hope he gets a win down here because I don't want
Yeah.
to. I don't want to deal with the next 3 days being down here like, oh man, I suck. I'm not good. I told you, like that whole thing
Hard.
unravels,
It's
and
hard.
you're like, so I know exactly how your friend feels because that's what I was thinking the whole time. Like, oh man, I don't want the next 3 days to suck. Please get a win.
Yeah, I think I have I think it's why I'm I got to this level too. Having said that, is but my level of self-criticism and self-degradation if I do anything wrong is so high. And the self-degradation part um could lead to worse performances over time and a worse life and a worse at least now I got really into sports psych. I'm aware of it. I read sports psych books. I work with a sports psychologist. So at least it's a lot better. And at least after, I won Fargo, I realized, oh, something's going on in the mind. Um, so I know that stick around positive people, stick around people that are focused in a positive way, and I'm not gonna lie, it hasn't all been that. And when I do have negative people, it's not as easy as saying as it's all bad. Sometimes you need a little negative too. But I think the recipe for different people is different. And I also think that you need something different at different parts of your life, different parts of your career. I think some parts of my career, maybe I needed a kick in the butt. Maybe I did need to be told what to do. Parts of my career, I think I needed people to really leave me be and be hands off and be just positive and but I know generally speaking, if it was as easy as saying one or the other, I think I work better with positivity. But I do think that the negativity is what fuels the machine. You,
Yeah,
you know,
I
you know
get
what I
it. I
mean?
get.
The
Yeah, I
positivity
mean,
gets me to
just by
perform well. You know?
my son is off in college, so yeah, he's changing his mind, taking sociology and learning how the mind works and doing all. It's pretty cool. Well, man, I think you and I could do this for like 3 hours, but I'm looking at my watch and I'm like, I got to get him to dinner. So
Oh yeah.
that's
Yeah.
pretty close to
It's
getting
up to
dinner.
you. I think I missed
Yeah.
dinner either way, but
Oh no, but
yeah.
yeah. So being from
Oh wait, no,
Chicago,
it's what time is it? I got my watch on Central Time still.
oh, so it's
Um
9:30 here, so it's 7:30 there.
okay. Yeah, I'm good still. I was looking at 8:30.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's
we'll
up to you.
wrap
We
it.
can go we can do another question or two, or we can be done. It's up to you.
I have a question. So being from Chicago, you, not me. My my question is, because I hear both sides of the story here. Deep dish or thin crust?
Ooh. I mean, I'm gonna give you an answer my wife always gives. Why choose?
Why choose?
Yeah.
Perfect. Because you always hear the true Chicagoans going, oh, deep dish is for the
Yeah.
tourist. Thin
Yeah.
crust is for the real Chicago people. So
Yeah. Tavern
I was like,
style.
yeah. So I always try to ask. All right. So like
Hey, tourists
Portillo's.
tourists like it for a reason. It's delicious. I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
above
yeah.
being a tourist. If you can be a tourist in your own city, yeah, do it. I mean,
Let's do it.
I think they're both delicious, honestly. And I like New York pizza. I like
All
you know,
pizza.
all pizza, Italian pizza. All pizza is good if you ask me.
Yeah, I like it. All right. So Portillo's, you go the beef or the combo?
Ooh, that's hard. I usually go straight up beef, but I just had an amazing combo the other day.
Oh
Um,
man, it's so good.
at,
There's something about because the beef has some flavor to it, but when it has that sausage in there and you get that
oh man,
bang. Now
yeah,
you like the buns wet or dry?
wet. But I got a funny story for you about Italian beef.
Yeah.
And I told you I was a bit of a troublemaker sometimes. But this is like some Tom Sawyer kind of deal now, but like we'd have Italian beef day at school, and I would order 3 Italian beefs, and I would eat 2 of them in line. And by the time I got to the registers, there was just one left, and I would pay for one. I shouldn't have done it, but I did.
Yeah.
And I got really fat that way. And I got so fat off Italian beefs that I had to tell myself, like, it was like a New Year's resolution, like, you got to stop eating Italian beefs the way you are. Like, so I had to stop from Italian beefs for like a while because they
Oh,
truly get me fat, but they're
but you were
so
at
good.
the but you were at the Fargo weight class. I tell everybody the first year that I was going to Fargo, I'm in the airport with the Fargo team. This is the year that my son went. And, always going to the tournament, everything's quiet. The team's miserable. Nobody wants to talk to anybody, right? But yet there's the four heavyweights in the corner, and they're fucking eating hamburgers and hot dogs and French fries, and they're living it up. And all the other kids are like, they suck. We hate the big boys. What the hell, right?
Yeah.
So, was that you on the Fargo trip? You're like, huh, I'm good. I can eat my hamburger and hot dog.
When I won, yes. So I'll tell you, when I went the first time I went my junior year, I cut down to 160. I qualified for 189, and I had this bright idea. If I cut down not even 171, all the way down to 160, then I'll have a better shot, And so I cut
Yeah.
down all the way to 160, and I won some matches, but I didn't, place in either. The next year, after my senior season, I went 215 and I won. I won because it was the first time I wasn't like cutting huge amounts of weight, and I just wrestled and I had a good time. So that's like the whole enjoying yourself thing. Like,
Yeah.
people never try not cutting weight, so they don't know if they wrestle better up. But then also I would say that like people never try like relaxing and having a good time and seeing where their performances go. It's like as long as you're not like you relax, you have a good time, but when it's time to go, you still can refocus. It's like, you pull it
It's
all
time.
in, yeah, it's like you can still have a good time, and it
But
might
it's
lead
like,
to better performances. It did for me.
but do you ever get like I'll be asking the kids, hey, are you thinking about what you're gonna do? Are you gonna do this? What are you thinking about? Are you manifesting something? Are you seeing? And they're like, Dad, I'm just gonna go wrestle. And
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, well, that's good too, right? And I think
yeah,
we on the outside are like, you have to have a game plan and you have to see the moves and you have to do all this stuff and think about this. And to you guys, you're like, well, I'm just gonna go wrestle and we'll see what happens, right?
yeah.
But
Well,
that's
like, yeah, like I would say that when I try and plan things out, it never goes according to plan. Everybody has a plan
yeah,
until they get punched in the mouth. And
right.
and I do think that sometimes if you're fixated on it going a certain way, for certain people, it could make them kind of neglect everything else. But I think it depends on the person. Like some people are like a dog on a bone, especially like in Greco. It's like 2-on-1, 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 or they're just
Yeah,
like, I have an arm throw. I'm gonna try it 5 times the match. I don't care about anything else. I'm gonna try it 5 times the match. I'm gonna get it once or twice, and I'm gonna win the match that way. Like so, like there is something to like having a game plan, but like for me, it's a very general plan. I know the positions I want to be in, but for me, it is really like I have to hold on to just like being able to improvise and not try and like you know plan everything in my head, and that kind of leads to better wrestling for me because that's like part of my personality. I think I always wrestle better that way. It's just like
yeah,
let your um let your intuition lead you, and like believe that you have something deep down inside that's going to be the reason why
yeah.
you
But I
come
think
out victorious or not.
as you guys wrestle longer in life, with these young kids, I hear coaches telling them when it becomes second nature is when you'll start to see levels start to go, right? Because now you're not
Mm,
thinking, you just know that, okay, my body just moves if he shoots, right? My body just, but
yeah.
yeah, that's funny. You said like the arm throw. I remember the guy that's from the W cap. that was wrestling the other guy, Dalton Roberts from WCAT,
Oh,
and the one
Ildar.
Ildar, who's a two-time Olympian. When he towards the end of the two matches there, you could see him going for broke, and he kept trying to hit that arm throw, hit that arm throw, hit that arm throw. He was just because at that point he was like, I got to go for broke here. Dalton Roberts was wrestling really well, and obviously,
Yeah.
and God willing, both those. There's three guys out there, right? For Greco, Roberts,
Yeah,
Ellis, and
Roberts,
Ball.
Bay. Yeah,
Bay.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
Kamal Bay. Yeah, and that's really tough too because like coming from Ildar's point of view, it's like he wrestles that guy in the room probably all the time, and he's competed against them like a million times. So it's even harder when somebody knows that you want your arm throw. You like they know you want your
right.
2-on-1. Like, and I experienced that through the challenge tournament this year. It's like everybody knows that I 2-on-1, and it's like I couldn't 2-on-1 anybody. Yeah, I think I got one takedown off my 2-on-1 of the whole tournament, maybe. Like, and it's just like, okay, that's why for me it helps to like don't force anything, like feel what's there. And like, and then coming back to what you were saying, like I think muscle memory and getting your 10,000 hours in is so important for that reason. And that's why I wrestled all styles in as many tournaments as I can, in as many clubs as I can. If there's a wrestling practice, if there's a wrestling tournament, I was there. I didn't care what style it was, but I had a really, really good college coach that kind of honed it all in. Steve Marinetti at Elmhurst College or Elmhurst University now. And one of his big things was like muscle memory, like have a go-to attack and hit it every day over and over and over and over and over and over. And like recognize when you have a good rep and, oh, that one was good.
Yeah.
Can I get it perfect? That one was pretty good. Like that one was perfect. Now can I get 5 exactly like that? Perfect ones. Boom, boom, boom. And then you can get
Yeah.
that part of your
I have
mind turning,
I have a
then that's
younger
really
I have a
good.
younger son he's just finishing up his freshman year, and he's not as passionate about the sport as the other one, but he's starting to come like it a little bit, right? A little bit. But
Yeah.
he's wrestles with the coach comes to the garage, and he did like a front headlock the other day, and the coach is like, that was pretty good. You know what? We may need to work on this, right?
Yeah.
and focus on it. But man, that's it. All right, so let's get you to dinner. But before we go, catch up on your hot dog.
um, if I'm doing a Chicago dog, absolutely not. You know, but secretly they might take my Chicago card away. But if I'm just having a hot dog, sometimes you got to put ketchup on there.
Oh, no, I agree with you. Yes, I remember the signs on the carts in Chicago are like, if you ask for ketchup, we're not
They'll
giving you the
abuse you.
hot. Yes, they'll abuse you. Oh man, yeah. What's the other thing that's really good out there? You do when you go for the popcorn, you get the combination, the
Um,
cheddar cheese and the butter, or what?
I
Or
I
you
do
go
like
caramel, or you go caramel.
I like them all,
Me
honestly.
too.
And then you. So it's whatever I'm feeling.
Whatever I'm feeling at the time.
Whatever.
Yeah, I love it.
There's
All
there's
right,
some
and
overseas. They have some flavors that we don't have. Like there's this. I was in Norway training, and they had this like kind of like paprika popcorn. It was so good.
oh, oh,
Yeah, it
you
was
came
really
home.
good.
You came home and tried to figure it out, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm like
Your popcorn's in the
bringing
bowl. You're like paprika.
at the
Why isn't it
movies, just
sticking? Yeah,
taking.
why isn't it sticking? Oh, I know. You ever take the straw and you put the straw in the popcorn and then you run the butter through the straw so you can get the butter
Oh,
to the
that's
bottom? Because you
that's
know how you
next
always get the
level.
butter popcorn and you're like,
Yeah, on
only
top.
the top part. God. And then you get to the
Oh, I
bottom
got
and
it.
you're like, I don't want this shit anymore. It doesn't have butter on it. So you stick the
Yeah,
straw down in there and you run the. You're gonna be with your wife at the movie
genius,
theater. She's gonna be like,
genius.
"The hell are you doing?" I was on World Wrestling. The guy told me to take a
Yeah.
shot, but good, I'm memorable. You'll remember me now.
Yeah, yeah. As if my wife didn't think Americans were gross enough. She's gonna really
Right?
think I'm gross now. But
What
you
the
know
hell
what?
are you doing?
She's from Belgium, so she doesn't care. She'll say it herself. She's just a snob when it comes to a lot of like food and stuff like that. But I told her like, hey, I can enjoy the freaking trashy food and the high
Yeah,
level food.
that's
You
right.
know?
I visited Detroit when they had the NCAA's there, and people are looking for like all this stuff, and I'm calling one of the coaches I knew that's down here, Coach Morgan. Charlie Morgan's down here, and Dave Morgan's there, and they both great coaches, right? And I'm like, tell me the shitty spots, the ones that little. They're like, yeah, you got to get chili dogs, you got to go get this. So I'm in the
Yeah.
back, and this guy's got no arm, so he's got a nub back there, and he's cooking these hot dogs. So he takes his nub and he lines up the buns on his nub. So he's holding it, and he throws the
Dang.
hot dogs there, and then throws the chili there. And I'm sitting there, this little concrete building in the middle of Detroit.
Yeah. Talk
Especially been
about
there for
10,000
years.
hours. That guy's
Oh
got some
man,
muscle memory.
oh yes. I mean, he's throwing the buns down. He's like, I don't know how he's doing it. He's got like this little nub that comes up that holds the bun. He's got it dialed in, and I'm like, God bless him, man. And he was throwing them
That's
around. And
awesome.
I'm coming back to the hotel, and I'm bringing boxes of chili dog, and everyone's in there like I'm handing out chili dogs. Oh yeah, I'm down. I had to try the M&M spaghetti in the
Oh yeah.
alleyway there.
Crazy stuff. Yeah.
Let me tell you, it is the shittiest spaghetti you'll ever eat in your life, it's it's mom's spaghetti. You got to try it, right? So
Yeah.
you could kill
That-
somebody with a piece of bread. I mean, it's great, right? But I'm
Heck
sitting in the
yeah,
middle of
man.
Detroit eating M&M spaghetti. I mean, I can't
Yeah.
get back.
When
Yeah,
when in Rome. When in Rome,
yeah,
man.
yeah. Let's go get some Belgian waffles and fried chicken, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, we can do that too.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Nothing beats a Big Mac.
Hey, it's if it tastes good, why not? It's
Ah,
funny. My wife every now and then thinks like that I think are gonna be like, oh, that's like a disgusting American thing. Every now and then she's super pumped about it. Like she's pumped
yeah.
about donuts, like Krispy Kreme, huge Krispy Kreme girl,
Oh,
In-N-Out burger. She loves In-N-Out burger. In-N-Out burger's nice, if you
it's
ask me.
she's
But
driving. She's driving by looking to see if the sign's on. Sign's
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Hot now. The sign's on. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she said she
No.
found out about Krispy Kremes and then she lived in a country that didn't have them. So it's like, imagine that having a taste for something. I mean, it happens
Oh,
to me now because I travel a lot for wrestling. It's just like if you really crave something and there's just not one in the country, that stinks.
yeah. You're going to the local baker. This is what you do. Take your donut, put it in
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
fryer. Now, can you just throw the stuff on there and let it
Make it
stick,
really
right?
light,
Make it
glazed
really
and
like,
light.
yeah. Like, this is how you do it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Come
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
You can do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
cool. Oh, this was awesome, man. I guess I sat in the right place at the Olympic trials. I got to
Yeah,
meet your
man.
family for a split second, and I was able to share your memories with you so that you have them, and that makes me happy.
Absolutely.
So thanks so much for jumping on here with me.
Yeah,
Just stuff.
thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks for
it's
the
fun.
pictures and thanks for sharing that story because I definitely didn't hear about that from like your point of view. I only knew about when I was there because she
Yeah,
was
yeah.
crying and when I was there,
All
but
right,
I
yeah,
didn't hear
yeah. She
about
was
that.
sitting. She sat back down in her chair, and you hadn't shown up yet. And she was like, I can't fucking believe it. He fucking dream. Finally did it. And she was just in her own world. And
Yeah.
it was awesome because I would have to imagine that if one of my kids accomplished a dream they were looking at, I would be just like your mom sitting there going,
Yeah.
holy
And
shit, this just
and
happened, right? So
we all were in disbelief, including me. And I think my family was at the point like after last trials, they all were there. And last trials was so horrible. And we felt like it was very unfair. Like her and my wife were the only ones that came this year, other than friends. But like I think a lot of people didn't come because last time was so terrible, and I felt like
yeah.
we got screwed in front of like everybody in broad daylight and nobody did
Yeah.
anything. And like my family also saw me retire, so I think most of them were like, all right, he's done. And like I was like, I'm done too. So then I was like, and I don't
Yeah.
make a big deal about it. I'm just like, oh
No.
yeah, Olympic trial. Like if they
No,
ask, Olympic trials is coming.
you had family members that were like, you know what? I'm not going through that again. I'd rather be upset on my couch with a beer if something happens
I
or
don't
lose.
blame them. I
This
don't
is
blame
this
them.
is better. Yeah, yeah. And
I
they're
don't
like,
want to
we're just
spend
staying here.
thousands of dollars to go be heartbroken. I could just
Yeah,
be
yeah.
heartbroken
I
for
could be
free.
having right here with my own beer, and it's only like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
$4. It's only a $4 beer instead of a $12
yeah,
beer. Yeah,
exactly.
that'll
Yeah.
be good. Well,
Well,
it's
thanks
good,
so
man. Well,
much, man.
congratulations. Yeah, enjoy every moment and go out and have fun and let it fly. And whatever
Absolutely.
his plan is for you will be his plan, right?
Absolutely, man.
All
Absolutely. Thank
right,
you so much.
no problem. You take it easy.
Have a good one.